morning, it's Matt here with Semper Fly, and I came down to the airport to go flying this morning, and it's blowing about 15 knots, so we're not going flying today. I cleaned the airplane, gave it a good lemon pledge bath, and thought I'd do a video about if you're interested in getting into classic aviation like this. I thought I'd pick out 5 different airplanes for the market price of $35,000 or less that can get you in the air in something classic and a lot of fun. So here we go. First on our list of classic tail draggers for under $35,000 is a Taylorcraft. Now this is a 1946 Taylorcraft. I found this in Barnstormers, as I did most of these ads. This is a basic BC-12. It's the most common Taylorcraft you're going to see. 46 was a big year for this type of aviation, so you're going to see a lot of these airplanes built in 46 I'm going to have on this list. This ad here says that it's been owned by the same owner for 21 years, logged since 1953, so not logged since original, but still logs back over 50 years, so you're in good shape there. This one's been upgraded with a Continental 85 horsepower engine from the original 65 that was in it. This airplane is still non-electrical, which is good. That means you're still ADS-B exempt. It's got a 43 climb prop on it. That's basically what I have. I have a 44 on my Cub, so that's a good middle-of-the-road prop. 2,400 hours total time. Not bad for a 75-year or more old airplane. Does say only 50 hours since major overhaul, with everything firewall forward new, such as engine, prop, mags, harness, the carb. Everything's been new or reworked, so hopefully your engine here is pretty fresh and has a lot of life left in her. Says it's got sealed struts. That's good. Most of the airplanes you're going to find on this list have had their original open struts replaced with sealed struts. It's a common AD on these airplanes, and this one has the sealed struts. The problem with the non-sealed is water would get down inside of it and you'd have some rust issues. So most of the ones you're going to see here are sealed struts. It says here that the fabric test well says 4 interior, 8 exterior. That's probably about, my airplane's probably about 8 interior, 4 exterior. So that's decent. I mean, it should mean that there's some years left in it. It's not fresh fabric, but it says the fabric's not ready to be torn off the airplane either. It says it comes with a portable radio and a portable intercom like I have. Burns about 5.5 to 6.5 gallons an hour, which is what you'd expect out of an 85 horsepower airplane. You're going to get performance pretty similar to my Cub in this Taylorcraft. It's a very similar airplane. It is side-by-side seating. A lot of modern Americans are a bigger size than they were in 1946, so the side-by-side can get a little tight depending upon who you want to fly with. But again, this would be a good airplane to look at under our budget at about $32,000. Number 2 on our list is this Cessna 140. Cessna 140s were built from 1946 to 1951. Our ad doesn't say what year this one is, but somewhere between 46 and 51. The 140s has a metal fuselage. Most of our other airplanes on this list are going to have fabric fuselages, and it's got a fabric wing and tail surfaces. Now this 140 here, it says lives in Denver. It's listed at $26,000. It has been equipped with a Cessna 85 horsepower, the same engine that was in our Taylorcraft we just looked at. Says it's had upgraded 0200 crankshaft and pistons, 325 hours on the major overhaul done in 2005. So hopefully if the engine's been run regularly and taken care of, it should have a lot of time left in her. A little bit higher airframe time of 9,100 hours total time. Again, this is a 75-year-old airplane. Flying regularly is not a bad thing. It's better to fly regularly than to sit. And this one's got 9,000 hours over 75 years, so it looks like at some portion of its life it got regular flying. Now, one thing different about this airplane is it's got a Narco 810 comm radio, and it says it has a transponder. It doesn't say ADS-B, so what I'm guessing about this airplane is it's had an electrical system installed in it and a radio and a transponder, but the transponder is not ADS-B certified. Now what that means is this airplane is no longer exempt from having an ADS-B transponder. So if you buy this airplane, to be legal to fly it, you've got one of two things. Basically, you can't take the transponder out because once you put an electrical system in it, you ruin the exemption. So now you're stuck with keeping it ADS-B certified. You're going to have to get an ADS-B certified transponder in it. With the accompanying, GPS antenna and such, you're probably looking at $4,000 or $5,000 to get that done. So that's something you want to be aware of if you're going in with this airplane. It talks about the Scott tail wheel, has upgraded Cleveland wheels and brakes, and does not say when the annual was. So I would be curious if it's in annual. Since it's not ADSB certified, it's not really legal to fly, so I bet it's out of annual. I'd be interested in wanting to know how long it's been out of annual and how long it's been since it's flown. But it's listed at $26,000, so there's a little bit of room in there to work to meet our $35,000 budget. Next on our list is this airplane, and this one's a little bit interesting. This is a Porterfield collegiate. Now, it also says in the ad that this is an LP-65. Porterfield was an aircraft manufacturer from 1934 to 1942 when they went out of business. This is the first airplane on our list that is tandem seating, like the Cub, where you sit forward and back. The Porterfield could actually regularly be flown solo from the front seat. This ad is somewhat interesting and causes me to have some questions about it. First of all, the price, it's listed at $24,900. At $24,900, what do you get? Well, this is listed as an LP-65. An LP-65, I believe, is the designation that Porterfield stuck on the airplane that they tried to sell to the military during World War II as a liaison aircraft. There were versions of the Aeronca Chief, Stinson, and Piper Cub that were sold to the military to use as liaison, and Porterfield was trying to get in on the game. So this is what most people are going to call a collegiate. There were not very many of these built. This plane has been extensively restored. As you can see from some of these pictures, it looks in fantastic shape. This has a Lycoming 65 horsepower engine, and it also comes with a spare engine. The spare overhauled engine is probably worth $5,000, so you can compute that into your price. I would be curious about the electrical system issue and whether or not this airplane is still ADSB exempt, however. It says annual due 123. You've been having to fly under ADSB for several years. So even though the annual is just due now, that implies they did an annual on the aircraft last year. However, this ad doesn't say that it is equipped with ADSB, and it's got some things in there that make me think it's no longer ADSB exempt, so I would bet this airplane hasn't flown in quite a few years, and that would be a concern to me. It's located in Northern California. However, if you could get in there, get this at a good price, and you were willing to do some work on the paperwork, getting it legal to fly, this is a pretty cool piece of American aviation history, and you could pull up to the gas pumps and constantly correct people who walk over and say, that's a funny looking Piper Cub. Next on our list is this 1939 Aeronca Chief. Chief is basically a side-by-side version of the Aeronca Chief that I've discussed in some other videos. This Chief seems to have somewhat of an interesting history. First of all, it's listed at $24,500. Decent price. I remember not too long ago, 5-6 years ago, these could be had for less than $20,000. However, $24,500, the ad says, this buys you a piece of aviation history. It appears that this airplane sat from 1952 to 2009 in a museum. It was then taken out of the museum, recovered, given an extensive restoration. I assume the logbooks are all back in shape. It's got pretty new polyfiber recovering, which is quite expensive. It has a fresh annual just the end of last year, no electrical system, so you're still exempt. As you can see from the pictures here, it looks to be a fantastic looking airplane. Now, I've sat in a Chief, and it's similar to the other side-by-side aircraft that I've listed on this list. It's somewhat tight depending what size you are, but Chiefs are very good flying airplanes. They're very nice flying. Aeroncas have a huge following. There's lots of parts you can still find for this airplane from Univair and a bunch of other sources. And this one is a very, very pretty airplane. I would be curious about an airplane that sat in a museum for close to 40 years. However, if they really stripped it down, did a good restoration, and got the logbooks in order, at $24,500, you would have a pretty airplane that would have a lot of years left in it. And the last airplane on our list today is this 1941 Piper J3. The ad doesn't tell us a whole bunch about it. It's listed at $26,000, which is what I paid exactly for my Cub, and that's a pretty cheap price for a Cub. It does say it's a 41, so that means it's probably a wood spar Cub. It's not a problem, it's just something you want to be aware of. The ad does not really say much else about it. It does give the times. It listed at 2676 total time and 1088 overhaul. So the engine is getting towards the end of its lifetime, especially if that is an overhaul that was done a long time ago. It does have a Continental 85 horsepower engine, so the engine has been upgraded. It's located in Montana. Now, the ad doesn't really tell you anything else about this airplane, so this is probably similar to the airplane like how I bought mine. A very old restoration and something that's extremely original. So I would imagine if you got this airplane and you got it back to your home airport, probably within a couple years you're going to start looking at some of the things that I've done videos about with my airplane. Things such as the old Eisenman mags are going to need to be replaced. You might be dealing with having to recover some issues. The prop might be old and some other issues. However, personally, I think at $26,000, any Cub that's legal to get in and fly away is worth $26,000. So the ad doesn't tell us much, but Cubs generally bring a higher price premium than the other airplanes I've listed. So at this price, this is certainly worth a phone call and a look at the log. Just for information purposes, when I was looking at Barnstormer's ads for a Cub to put in this video, this is the only one I found under $35,000 that was flying. There were some projects, which is basically a bunch of Cub parts stuck in a hangar, that was for less than $35,000. But all the rest of the Cubs that were in annual and legal to fly were generally from the upper 30,000s north up to about 60,000, which I think is crazy for a Cub, but that's just me. So there you have it, a basic list of some airplanes under $35,000 that you can get into flying if you're interested in classic American aviation history. Probably do a video in the future about some other expanded list, including some things that are experimental, which would get you in, but not everybody's into dealing with experimental airplanes. These are all airplanes that would be worth a look. Some of them were interesting, some of them were odd, and some of them I think had some issues, like the one that had an electrical system but didn't have ADS-B. You know you're looking at some money right off the bat there to get legal to fly at home. However, there are airplanes out there. $35,000 is about half of what a new F-150 pickup truck costs. So if you're interested in getting in classic aviation, that's a good place to start. I'd appreciate to hear your thoughts about if you have an airplane like this or if you've been shopping around. There's always some deals out there. Just keep looking. In the meantime, if the wind dies down, I'll go flying. Thanks for watching, and hit subscribe if you like these videos. Thanks.